I agree. They use too much auto tune.
They're a lot better live.
But do you know where that was filmed?
I believe at Northwest University. No, I don't think at Northwest University. I can't remember. I do know that the people like it's hard to find money to get a good studio, but I mean it's professional work that was done on those songs. It's just I think I don't know. I really enjoy it.
There had to have been too much work done on those. I mean, that's. It sounds like they had to do it too much, like almost like saying like Rebecca Black Friday.
Well, I know they don't use that much auto-tune in their live performances, so that was their first and their only current album out that's out right now. So like they're still, I guess, a newish band. I mean, they've been around several years now. I think it's like 5 or 6, but you know, it usually takes a good 10 years before a band actually gets going. You know,
Just had a nostalgia flashback watching footage of a concert I went to. Only thing I regret is not taking part in the dancing.
What dancing?
Mosh pit.
I remember mosh pits. Those are fun.
I was
we had
just,
mosh pits at my
I'd
Christian
never been to one before, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't compel myself to go get punched.
It's not so much about just getting punched. It's about
I gotta go. I gotta pee. I'll be right back.
At a loss for words.
fighting, fighting without a reason to fight.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And it's. I would say it's equivalent to the same thing as fucking LARPing.
On one hand, I do agree. However, I disagree when it comes to the potential physical injury. Because I don't know how you LARP, but based on what I've seen, some people LARP.
Oh, dude, it gets fucking intense. Well, I
Did
can't
you
really
do
it
shit
anymore,
like-
But I mean,
did
I
you,
just
like-
gonna watch now.
I was gonna say, did you do stuff like Dagger here, or like what was?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we called it Dagger here, West
I'm back.
fucking I don't know, tower or something like that.
I saw this video of this dude who lives, like, it was a Dagger Hero group, like an hour away from where I live, and some giant dude. He looked like he weighed about like 260 pounds, but he looked like he was like 6'4". Just like had this battle axe, and they were like, some girl was trying to interview him, and he's just like, Olaf. And then he like grabbed some little twink dude and picked him up and started doing a thrusting action. He's like, "This is what elves are for."
Gosh.
Oh, Kent, did you find it, or did you
Find what? Find what?
the game?
Oh no, no. I still got to do a more thorough spelunkering to find that. No, I was talking about LARPers.
What are LARPers?
Live action roleplay.
Live action roleplay.
Oh yeah, so just like D&D, like hardcore, or what?
Right, like fighting with weapons. But that are like
Alright, a whole nother level.
added.
All right, yeah.
Honestly, when I see stuff like people doing like medieval reenactment stuff, I think it would be more cool to do stuff like have teams of like shield walls rather than. Wait, see, like I basically what I'm saying is I'd like a more hardcore version of it.
Like formations and such.
Dude, if you want that, join the fucking military.
Yeah.
But I don't want to join the military and get shot at. I want to use blunted axes and round shields.
In order to get to achieve that kind of state, though, you'll need the mentality for it, which will involve orders, having to receive orders.
Is Abe still here?
What's up? Oh, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Free the nipple.
Free it from your toga.
Dude, I remember at the state championship dance, it was for like this speech state thing. These kids from like up north, these 4 white dudes, they got their hotel's curtain and they made like a fucking toga out of it, and they just showed up in that. Like, it was fucking hilarious.
Hey Abe, do you use Spotify?
Yeah, I do.
You can actually find the exchange on Spotify if you want to listen to more of their stuff.
Yeah, dude. I liked the video, the first one I thumbs it up so I could go back to it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I love hanging out with them. They're an awesome crew.
We got a Talking with Famous People playlist.
It's just full of all sorts of like random stuff that normally wouldn't be in a playlist together.
Yeah, because different people were at it. Audra threw some country stuff on there.
Oh, there's an actual playlist on Spotify.
Yeah.
Where's my phone? Actually, I don't need my phone. What am I talking about? I can just open Spotify on my laptop. Granted, I can't see half of anything because of my screen. But, you know. So is it called TWFP?
Should be. Just since it's a collaborative playlist, I'm pretty sure you have the ability to delete other people's tracks. So don't just look at somebody's track and be like, "Oh, I don't want that."
I don't see a TWFP playlist.
Do we got to link it, Suzanne? No copy link to Clipboard. Copy the link to the Clipboard.
I see a TWRP. Doesn't have TWFP.
I just copied the link to the Clipboard.
Yay! I can add my music on there.
I'm gonna mute you guys real quick because I'm watching something.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's got that.
you
damn
needed
song,
to inform
like
us.
number 1 too.
Shut the fuck up.
Damn, it's a good song.
Maria, 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 Julia.
Italie.
Fucking cat.
So now that I follow the playlist, I should have updated on my app. Is it collaborative with permissions? Is that a thing?
No, I think it's just once you have it, you can add stuff.
Get some Hans Zimmer in
I see.
there.
Wow, this is a long playlist.
Cookie Thumper.
Lots of explicit
Wow,
content, I
dude,
see.
there's some
You
fucking
have Weird Al
wide-
Yankovic on there. This is one
Wide-reaching,
of my
man.
favorite playlists.
Yeah, I think it was Audra that added Rudolph.
I'll add a bunch of I'll add some of the exchange stuff on there and a couple of other things I like to listen to. I don't see any Owl City. I'm actually surprised. I'll have to add some Owl
I
City
like
on
a
there.
couple
for you.
of City songs, but I didn't add them. I choose to add different stuff.
What's a good one to add? Probably.
Fucking infected mushroom.
Let's see. Well, obviously, if you're going to add Owl City, you have to play Fireflies.
Oh, please don't. Please don't.
I like to make myself believe.
I love that song.
I love it too. Like playing it.
I
That
won't
is
play
some
it in
funny
here, but
shit,
I gotta put that on the playlist. That you
Mhm.
can't not have that on the playlist.
Really? Really?
Like, and no playlist is complete without it.
No.
Owl City's amazing. Let's see here.
Dude, this is like my new favorite playlist.
Let's see here. Okay. Artists. Oh, and then there were none. I need to add that on there. It's like it's like an artist that was only together for like one album, then split up, but that was really good.
White and nerdy.
It's like one of the best ones. Oh, Abe, you listening? Like, you there?
Yeah.
Hey, one thing to keep in mind, if you do look up the exchange on Spotify, they have like some legal rights issues going on with the exchange right now on Spotify. So there is a secular album on there. That's not them.
All right.
Just so you know, you'll be able to figure out which one that is pretty easily. So,
All right.
because it's like from 2003.
Yeah.
Okay, now I gotta add some of my actual like metal stuff on there. Let's see here.
How many songs are on the playlist?
Probably I don't know.
Close to 90 now.
Probably be 100 when I get done with it. I listen to a wide range of music.
I remember when Susanna linked me that playlist. I just posted that image of like the little weird looking bear thing, and it's just like, this is gonna get weird. I'm gonna make this weird. Hey, Adra, why you no talk?
Whoa, they did a 40th anniversary of 21. Rush did a 40th anniversary of 2112. I've got to listen to that.
What's up, Ken?
But Adra, why you no talk? Why you no converse with me?
Well, you know, say nothing very interesting.
Well, maybe that would change if I was talking to you.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
It is a reasonable assumption.
Oh,
When
dude,
you
even have Slipknot here.
when you leave me to the world, I will do as the world. I mean,
Yeah.
And Apocalyptica.
I
Damn.
watched I watched a movie that was pretty good. That
What's it called?
probably is kind of a good ENTP movie.
what's the movie code?
It's called "Thank You for Smoking."
I remember seeing a trailer for that way back when.
Okay, I won't completely like ruin your playlist, so I will only
Yeah,
add a handful of songs.
It's ruined. It's ruined because
It's already ruined, dude. Yeah, Fireflies.
No, the main character is basically a lobbyist. And he just talks about. He's like, my job is to talk. I was like, mm-hmm. Anyway, it was a pretty good movie.
Got you a little classic rock, a little bit of metal, a little bit of alternative Christian music on there. Got yourself a couple of good, I don't know what their categories are, but a couple of other good bands.
What's her name? She's like screamo Christian.
I forgot to add Devils Wear Prada to it, unless it's already got some on there.
Devil Wears Prada. That was an interesting group because I remember when I was going to school, my math teacher that I had in like 6th grade, or wasn't even, yeah, it was my math teacher in 6th grade. She, I think she actually used to babysit the drummer.
What?
Yeah, because they're from Ohio.
Actually, I listened to Devils Wear Prada, but I don't know any of their good songs.
My sister, well, dogs can grow beards all over, dude. Come on.
Which one?
Swords, dogs can grow beards all over. Swords, Dragons, and Diet Coke. And Hey John, what's your name again?
I don't even know what you're talking about, but the idea of
Because
the song,
I was introduced to it by another friend. So I listen to them sometimes, but I don't have anything saved on my
Sorry,
playlist.
what was that, Audrey? You,
I was just saying that the title "Swords, Dragons, and Diet Coke." That's pretty awesome.
yeah.
Oh, we got to put some Demon Hunter on there.
1,000 apologies, please. What are my favorite Demon Hunter things? 1,000 apologies, Fading Away, Ready to Die is a good one, and shoot, what's the other one called?
Well, the ones I like the most are I Am a Stone, the last one alive. I'm trying to think the other one. Artificial Light's pretty good.
Do you hold on. What sort of like era other stuff do you listen to? Like their newer stuff, or
My choices tend to be kind of random.
okay. Dang, dude, I remember when The Extremist was a new album, and that was 3 years ago. Heck, I remember when. Let me scroll down and find it.
Oh, Exchange is old music. They have one old song that's really good.
So yeah, I think pretty much the albums I listened to by them, like all the songs I listened to by Demon Hunter, were from Summer of Darkness, The Triptych, and Storm the Gates of Hell. So between 04 and 07.
Yeah, I'm pretty random. I don't even know when things were made. I just know I like them.
Yeah. Fading Away is from Storm the Gates of Hell. 1,000 Apologies from The Triptych, and Not Ready to Die is from Summer of Darkness. Those are the three. That's what's up. But then where was that other one? There was that other one that was like, really good. Is it Undying? Yeah, Undying. And then they did that single with what you call it? With that one dude, Bjorn something. They did that single with him, Collapsing.
That's a good song.
Shit. Now
Oh, there it
goes-
is. Bjorn Street. That's what it is.
I have to say, Demon Hunter is one of those bands that has like more than just a handful of good songs.
Right.
Like, they're actually pretty solid. There aren't very many bands where I'll listen to more than maybe 3 of their songs. I think Demon Hunter is one of them, Owl City's another, and then Well, obviously the Exchange because I love them so much. I listen to them all the time. I listen. I don't know if I'm in the right mood. I'll listen to Hillsong United and especially Hillsong Young and Free like all day if I'm in the right mood.
Mhm.
I think Hillsong Young and Free's got some really cool stuff. So, anything interesting happened today while I wasn't on?
I don't know.
Still haven't received an email back about that thing, Mark.
Nope. I assume it's because it's the Memorial Day weekend.
That would make sense. So is that like your dorm room that you're sitting in whenever I see you on camera?
It's a townhome.
Okay.
So, I mean, outside, the door behind me is my bathroom, and then there's a door to the left that goes out to the kitchen and family room. And there's an upstairs where my 3 roommates live.
That's cool.
But they're not here over the summer, so that's pretty sweet. I got the whole place to myself. And they're still paying rent and everything. I don't understand why they didn't stay.
That's hilarious.
I mean, the lease doesn't end until September, beginning of September.
Why would they do that?
No idea.
Like, oh, let's just waste our money.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet for you, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably have parties and crap.
Yeah, and I've had people over, and and like my food doesn't disappear. That's the main thing.
That's a good point. I don't know. I'm starting to live on my own, like I mentioned. I think, like when I joined this chat room, I literally just started living on my own for the first
Wait, what was that?
like I moved out of my parents' house for like it had been a week since I'd moved out of my parents' house when I joined this chat room.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you just moved out.
Yeah, like, and it's been an interesting experience. I get really lonely though. As much as I hated living with my family because we'd bicker a lot, I kind of get lonely. But
Yeah, but you can always leave and hang out with people.
right, except the problem is there's usually nobody to hang out with. I live in a small town, dude.
Yeah. How many people?
Everybody that is worth hanging out with are usually doing something else, or are like in the city with a new job, or like off somewhere important.
Yeah.
Plus, on top of that, it's a pain in the rear end getting back to my place because I have to bike uphill for a mile to do that.
How many people live in your town?
Let me see what the numbers are. I think technically we're, I don't know, considered the city of Kingston according to Google and everything else, but not really a city. Like, we don't have our own police department or anything. We have a council that gets together, and the only real thing they ever have to frickin' deal with is the how they're going to fund the 4th of July fireworks, and then that's pretty much the only purpose for the council to getting together. Yeah, I have just over 2,000 people as of 2010.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty small.
Most everybody's around here is old too, like 50s or older.
Right.
So that's like, what do I do with myself?
John's still here? Or John's gone.
Can't wait till I go to university in the fall, though, dude. And be able to actually be around people my age.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Look at
Funny
that.
stuff, during the summer though, it's filled with old people, and then it only the young people come when school starts. Pretty much the whole town's economy is built off the school.
Anybody got some topics for discussion?
I was just thinking about that. I don't know an exact topic, but I was like, I was just thinking probably we could talk theology.
We could if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, for someone who's not a Christian, I'm normally fairly down to talk about it. It just requires people who are actually into it.
Well, me and Mark are both hardcore Christians, so we know a thing or two about theology, although I wouldn't say I know everything, obviously. I don't think anybody knows I actually know for a fact nobody knows everything, but
Well,
we can discuss it still because we're somewhat, I would say, somewhat more knowledgeable than the average person.
what in particular, Ken?
Oh, I don't know. I typically just, that's the thing is I don't know particular topics, but I just noticed that when I get on topics like this, I usually find some sort of useful insight that I don't normally have.
Yeah.
Talk about music or other stuff.
Well, Mark, I would assume you know about how the covenant with Abraham links to the story of Jesus, right? I know that's not taught very much anymore in a lot of Christian churches, but at least I think that's the case. That's what I've been told, anyways. Is how the Old Testament is linked to the New Testament.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole Bible is one big long story.
Right.
Together.
That's more a basic theology, though. That's like, if you're going to actually pay attention to Christianity, that's kind of one of the first things you learn, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the original duty of the Jews was to spread to non-Jews, but they lost that idea pretty early on. At least certainly after.
I know, right? You got Jews arguing about whether or not non-Jews can become Christians. I found that kind of funny in the New Testament, where Paul had to set them straight about that.
Yeah, at least after the Babylonian captivity, lost their way.
It's interesting, Mark. You know how I was talking about the sort of law 3 thing that you see in various religions?
Yeah.
I was sharing that idea with my dad, and he had the insight that he was saying it's sort of like the like you might be able to draw a parallel between that with people's approach to grace, where it's like you'll get some people that, like in that extremes thing I was talking about, you get some people that approach it in a very legalistic mindset or in a very lascivious mindset, and they're sort of confused about how exactly to approach it because they're trying to find where on the spectrum they should land, like where basically in the way they've been doing things, how do they need to alter the way they've been doing things so that the outcome's different, but they're still operating within the same paradigm. And he had the insight that it's not there to point to where exactly in the paradigm you should operate, but it's there to break out of the paradigm and allow for a new one to take hold.
What are we talking about?
I guess I was speaking more pointedly to the effect that grace could have, because I don't necessarily understand it completely.
Well,
but,
how does that relate to 3, though? I guess I didn't catch that bit.
Well, I was sharing with him the sort of idea I was having about that sort of law 3 thing, just with what I've
Law
been
of
seeing.
three, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
I mean, the law of three.
I mean, I guess it's not necessarily a law, but it's like it's just a it's like a mathematical trend that I've seen in
Oh, I see what you mean.
various religions and whatnot, where it's like the idea, like if you have, I mean, like a triangle, for example, it's like you have like 2 points at the bottom. You have like a leftmost point and a rightmost point, and that's sort of like a two-dimensional spectrum that you're operating on, because it's like it's just like a line in a way. You have like hot and cold on one side. You have left and you have right. And what I was saying is that like some people's ideas of growth, they may not even approach it as seeing it as growth. They may oh yeah, John was kind of worried about that because he said something and then he just disappeared, and he was like, "Did I offend her?"
I want to participate in this conversation, but I'm gonna go hop in the shower again real quick. So I'll be back.
Audra, did anything I said make any sense to you, or do I need to explain it further?
I kind of think I see sort of what maybe you're getting at, but no, I'm not exactly sure what it's. Sure.
Okay, so
I didn't get a clear picture of whatever it was you were describing.
I see. I've been tying this back into this idea I've been having about dimensionality as it comes to life, and the way that we perceive things and understand things. So the thought I was having is like with law, like what I call like the law of three or whatever, like the symbol I was using to represent that is like a triangle. Like, I mean, heck, honestly, if you wanted to use it, you could use a cross as a symbolic example of it. The idea that I had was that where issues persist is when people continue to think about things in a sort of lower dimensional or like two-dimensional format, where it's like things are hot or cold, they're one thing or they're the other thing, and like you're trying to find where on the spectrum of like left to right, like sort of where to be or like how to act, but it's within your current understanding. Like the left to right thing is metaphorical for the current form of understanding that you're in, but like whether or not it's like triangle or, as I said, like cross or whatnot, the added thing of like on a triangle, it's not a third point on that line. It's a third point, but it's above it. If you were to look at it dimensionally, it would be like adding, like taking something that was only an x-axis and adding a y-axis to it. It's adding another dimension to it. It's like, maybe two-dimensional was the wrong thing to say. Maybe it's the difference between one-dimensional and two-dimensional. But the idea I'm trying to get at psychologically is that where growth really occurs is not where you're operating on the same mental paradigm, but when you're like adding a level to it. You're adding a perspective, another way that you can look at it, in which it's not like it no longer remains the same. And I was trying to tie that in with imagery and whatnot, but that was the explanation I had as far as the three thing goes. But I had relayed that information to my dad, and he had the insight of relating it to how people approach grace or whatnot, and how they, when people are into Christian theology, they'll look at Christ's sacrifice and whatnot, but they still don't. Like, there's a lot of times people have difficulty understanding what exactly it means. Like Nick was on here the other night, and he was like, well, I'm just glad that I can sin as much as I want, and like me and God are still cool.
That was actually that condition is incorrect.
And Andy, Andy had the response that he had.
I mean, technically, we don't get to say who and who is not going to heaven. That's up to God, and we have no clue exactly how God is running it. We can only make inferences based off of what is told to us in the scriptures. So the idea that you can just sin as much as you want and then you're saved, I think personally that is a very dangerous road to go down. Very, very dangerous. Because whether that's the case or not, it can lead you down a path where you don't accept Christ anymore either, if that makes sense. It's kind of like the path to the dark side in Star Wars.
So that's the thing I was kind of
In general.
trying to get at, and the thing that he sort of had a little bit of insight on is that a lot of times people can have the approach of like, okay, am I trying to avoid it, or do I not care so much? Am I pursuing this thing, or am I avoiding this thing? Is this a yes or is this a no? And a lot of times you can get frustration trying to determine, like, okay, where on the spectrum, where on the line? Well, just show me the point and I'll go there. But it's like,
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, I like the idea that you're going with dimensionalities, because a lot of my kind of personal theology revolves around dimensions and physics and things. But I always find it interesting when someone else kind of at least is over in the same area. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about there with the different, because this is something I've been kind of dwelling on lately, but the different perspectives on God, what different people are seeking different aspects. And I don't know, I'm really big into, not that there's only one destination, but nobody can tell quite sure, for sure what it looks like getting there, and it's different from every perspective. But that's something, that kind of reminds me of what you were talking about, like Nick, and different people look for different things when they're seeking God, I think. And some people are especially concerned with, forgiveness or comfort, or making them feel better. Some people are looking for safety. Some people are looking for. There's just all kinds of different perspectives I think they can look for.
I mean, when I was a Christian, it's like I had the exact opposite approach of Nick. It's like I worried over like everything. I was like, because just as far as that stuff went, I was like, well, okay, if we're going to be doing this thing, let's do this thing. Let's like, but it was like. I had like no mercy for any personal limitations, and became very.
What you need is something a little more in the middle.
And that's what I struggled with a lot more. That's why I've been enjoying thinking about the dimensionality aspect, is because the whole middle thing. Essentially, I didn't trust myself to
the thing
judge
is,
the middle.
Well, yeah. The thing is like it's just. Recognizing what you're doing is wrong is probably the most important thing, and then just at least attempting wholeheartedly to do something about it. Failure does not mean like, you're gonna go to hell or anything like that. Or there's a reason why Jesus had to come and save us, and it's because we are incapable of following all the Ten Commandments. We're incapable of being unsinful. So we need somebody perfect to come and die and pay the price in our place as a sacrifice in order to do that. And only God could fulfill that himself, which is why he came down to do that.
Growing up, I mean, like I've heard sermons preached on that for years, it seems like, but the sort of internal place I came to is that if there's boundaries, I mean, like as far as theological boundaries or whatnot, main reason why I don't, identify as Christian anymore is just because I'm not really gonna try to wear that veil and be like, oh no, look, I'm still part of the team. Because I mean, as far as like actual like ethical motivations that I have in life, I enjoy talking about the theology, but I wouldn't say that I'm motivated by those. If anything, I'm more looking for ways that they're not true. Or as I said, sort of pushing boundaries more so. If it happens to be true, either I will come to that conclusion, or maybe not necessarily conclusion, but I will have my heart led in that way as I gain more experience in life. Or, I mean, was that probably fall in the category of Christian missing?
What the heck? Well, the
Well,
deal is you can't mix Christianity with any other theology. It doesn't work. That it breaks everything if you do that.
I mean,
What do you mean by that?
When you try to bring in outside viewpoints and try to mix them, like these people that think, for instance, an extreme example of this is the people that think all religions are correct. That's obviously not true. Like, because there's too many contradictions there. The thing is like you bring into other things out from outside of Christianity, outside of what has been written down for us through what God has provided for us through the Bible and through the theological teachings of Christ and his disciples. Then what you're doing is you're straying in a direction where you cannot confirm anything. And outside of that, and on top of that, it's a lot of it just does not work with Christianity. Now, I think like philosophies in life, like how people should be treated, that there's certain things that I guess could be compatible in philosophy itself, but when it comes to religion, no. When it comes to theology, no.
Well, distinguish those two things.
yeah, we're going hard.
So, for instance,
Sorry.
Religion and theology being different from philosophy. For instance, Confucius from China was a philosopher. He said many things that are pretty great, but they weren't based off of anything to do with the spiritual realm. They were more based off of the actual philosophy, like human philosophy, how we should treat each other, that kind of thing.
Aren't those from the metaphysical realm?
What was that?
Aren't those principles living in the metaphysical realm or present in the metaphysical realm?
You probably do have a point there. So I would say just avoid anything. If you're going to follow the Christian faith, then you follow the Christian faith. Don't mix anything else with it.
That's an interesting statement, the way you say it there, following the Christian faith, because I think faith and religion are two very different things.
Right, which religion's more of the practical aspect of implementation, whereas the faith aspect is more of the actual relationship with God.
Well, there's a statement, I'm living out my faith.
That's true.
Because to me, I mean, personal faith, your personal relationship with God is the most important thing.
Yeah, of the two, it's the most important thing. But
And then
at the same time, if you don't let, if
religion is a path for many people, but it's not necessarily the best way to always get there.
The thing is, the problem with only having a relationship with God, though, without any guidance from, like, say, the church or any other thing, is you can start coming to conclusions that are completely incorrect theologically.
And how do you know what the correct theology is?
In general, there are agreed upon boundaries you cannot cross throughout all denominations of Christianity that aren't cults.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things.
I'm not very good at explaining this stuff. Maybe Mark could explain it a lot better than I could.
No, I'm asking your opinion on it, not necessarily an absolute definition. That's the thing here.
We're dealing.
Well, here's the problem.
Here.
Here's the problem with opinions. When it comes to theology, there really can't be any real opinions. It's only what's true.
Well, and you can't actually prove what's true.
To a degree, you can.
You can observe the. You can study the artifacts associated with that God left, and you can try to derive meaning from it, but there isn't an absolute meaning that we can put our pin in.
Well, the Bible has
consensus.
those absolutes in it. That's the problem. That's the problem with your argument.
But it's there, but the absolutes, they may exist, but just by nature of human interpretation.
Well, things get lost in
even-
human interpretation all the time, but there are absolute truths, and you can't. Those
Right, but I think
the known ones can't be changed.
they're there, but all we can actually have for certain is an interpretation of them, a meaning given to them, because we're still observing the truth, not knowing the truth. If that makes sense. It's a limited perspective, always. So we're all observing God's truth, right? But each of us observes it through different eyes. And then we can communicate about it and we can talk about it. But there's no way to be certain that we're absolutely right in our communications.
Yes, but there are certain things we can be certain about. If you're a Christian, you are certain about certain things.
Give me an example.
You can't cross lines. For instance, you are certain about the resurrection of Christ. You are certain about God being the one and only true God.
Okay. Yeah.
For instance, concepts like reincarnation are almost wholly incompatible with Christianity.
Well,
Right. So those are the foundations of the faith. I mean, that's not really what I was talking about, but yeah.
Well, I mean, when you get into little
here's-
details, like should you be smoking or not, like there's obvious debate about that. But like,
Here's my question though. You said like Audrey, your response was that it was like the basics of the faith or something like that. This is an honest question I have. Would you say that those are the basics of the faith or the basics of the religion?
I guess of the
problem is
generalized
faith
version of
I'm-
faith
hey,
is Christianity.
Andy, I'm asking Audrey.
I mean, to me, the essentials and everything else on it is kind of not unimportant, but less important. Is there's God, and then you believe in Jesus and salvation, and so that's about it. But at the same time, you can't prove them.
well, here's the deal: you also, as a Christian, take the Bible as God's word, and the whole Bible is true. You can't just pick parts of it and say this is true. The whole Bible is true if you're a Christian.
I disagree.
I disagree, and it's not. You can't say truth about. You can say that that it's truly the word of God, but you also have to realize that you can't hope to interpret it. You can't with any certainty know that your interpretation is correct. I find, to me, the Bible is a,
which is why we
thing
need to, as a
you look at and you
community,
seek
create
wisdom.
create an interpretation.
God's meaning, right?
And more than likely, the original interpretation is correct.
Original interpretation of what?
Of most passages, the original interpretation of the passages, because, like, for instance, what the meaning behind them that were written by the disciples themselves.
Right. I mean, I much prefer reading like the New Testament in Greek. It's much simpler in that language. anyway.
Exactly, it clears up a lot of issues when you read it.
But at the same time, I understand that I don't understand the nuances of Koine Greek in modern times. And if you just look at the basic shifts of meaning and language, even at best, I can say it's this direction of things, right? I can't interpret it literally because that would be. You can easily find contradictions in that.
Oh, certainly. And
I seek meaning in the Bible all the time, but I don't seek literal.
Well, the Old Testament, for instance, mostly is, if you exclude Psalms and Proverbs, I believe, most of the Old Testament is history, majority of it.
well, not
Right.
Genesis.
God loves stories.
Actually, I'd say Genesis is history.
Genesis is written as a poem. And there's a lot of Hebraisms. If you get the Net Bible, I was
Well,
just
maybe the first few chapters, that's up for debate, but for the most part, the rest of it, with Abraham and a couple of the other stories in there regarding the beginning of the Jewish people, those are history.
Roger's talking about with with language and whatnot, and they're describing things in a way that would make sense to them in the culture and the context. Within the text, if you interpret it literally, it's not going to make sense. So if you look at Genesis, for instance, you have every day at the end of the day saying, God says, and he said it was good. And besides the day where he made the oceans and the seas and the water, he doesn't say it's good, because in Hebraic thought and Middle Eastern thought in a whole, you have people believing that salt water is evil, that the ocean is evil, because it brings storms. You can't grow stuff with salt water. It's mysterious. It's dangerous. Sailing's dangerous. People die, whatnot. So on that day, you just have God not saying it's good because it's chaotic and whatnot. So in Genesis, you have God creating order out of chaos. Like it doesn't say he created ex nihilo. It says there was a formlessness, but there was matter of some sort. And he's like creating order out of chaos in each day. And then if you look at the certain days, like days 1 and 4, 2 and 5, and 3 and 7 match up together. Like there's the creation of the oceans, and then you have the creation of animals of the sea or whatever on another day, and those match up, and you have land and land animals matching up, and things like that. So there's like deeper purposes behind it. You also have the author of Genesis that's very wary of using the word moon and sun because those are gods in Canaan for other peoples in Canaan, Canaanites, the Philistines, whatnot. So he's very careful not to use those. So he uses the greater light and the lesser light. And so his point is God is ultimate God, and the other gods are subservient to him.
Well, the other gods just straight up don't exist.
That's not necessarily true, and especially in early Judaism, they understood that other gods existed, and other gods controlled certain regions of the world, and how they would be divine beings. So they may be angels or demonic forces, but you have, for instance, the angel or Persia.
Angels and demons aren't gods, though.
They're divine beings. Okay?
Right, they're not
They're
gods.
demonic, right? Or they're good. I mean, whatever it is. But they understood that these other gods have reality and substance.
Except they aren't gods.
I mean, maybe not in the sense that these people thought of it, but they would recognize that Baal, sure, Baal's a thing.
Yeah, except that the problem was Baal wasn't really a thing. That was more of just something they freaking picked up because they were unfaithful to God. It was an idol they were worshiping. An idol can be anything. An idol can be my video games.
Certainly. And then back then you would have gods representing certain natural forces or practices or whatever in that same way. Like you'd have a god of wealth or whatever. It's the same thing as idolizing money itself, right? But they wouldn't argue that these gods didn't exist, especially in early Judaism. Later Judaism changed a bit, but early Judaism, it's called starts with an H. Definitely not hedonism, but it sounds like hedonism. Forgot the term for it. Anyway. Henotheism. That's it. Yeah, they're henotheists.
Well, there's only one true God.
Certainly.
So any other gods are fake.
Depending on what we mean by that.
Right, but if you look at the
The
human
fake as in,
perspective,
like,
especially in
there's-
a more primitive language, if you're associating the God with a capital G, that's we know what that is.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if you're
That's
talking about
But
gods,
if you look
then
at the
they're
word God and you look at and you look at the meanings and you look at the relationships, what that means a being greater than human, typically, right?
Yeah.
At its rawest level, that's what it can come to mean. So
I don't know if this will make sense. I certainly don't want to sound like
attacking
patronizing.
the word doesn't really.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know if this will necessarily make sense. I don't want to sound patronizing or anything, but what Audra and Mark are doing right now, Andy, is like, at least how I can best understand it, is like proper NETI combination stuff. Is just, you have a term and you're starting from sort of a single point, and then you're sort of haggling from there. Okay, what does this mean? What is our understanding of this term? Is there a better term to use? So it's more, it's developing the argument. That's what I see it as.
So are you basically saying that the other gods don't actually exist in the same form as the other gods? From my understanding, what you're actually saying now is that the other gods do exist, but they don't exist as actual gods. They're just more of they exist as gods in the mind of other people.
Just saying that the possibility exists that there are some sort of beings other than just humans and God.
Well,
That might be
there's
something.
obviously angels and demons.
Right. So I mean, from a certain perspective, it would be easy to use the term God to that. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's,
Well, even in biblical passages, you
Well,
find
you could
angels
do,
even telling them not to bow to them or anything like that because they're not God,
way to go.
basically.
Right. So I mean, yeah. So we have to define what evil is at that point, because I mean, what they're doing when they're saying "don't bow to me" is they're on the good side, right? Like an evil angel wouldn't say that.
Well, they wouldn't, but the idea is it's showing that they aren't God.
Right. So they're following God. They're following the good, and then evil is simply a privation of the good, or privation of do good.
Yeah.
So it's a lacking of something. So if you're going to say, like, I would say evil doesn't have being. I mean, in that sense. So you might say evil doesn't exist. It's real,
What's up, peeps?
but it's like a non-existence.
Theology.
But what was the original discussion?
Original discussion. Shoot, not quite sure where we started. It seemed like there were many rebuttals to individual statements, and so we got.
Yeah, and I came in a little bit late, so I wasn't sure what you guys were talking about at the beginning.
I don't remember. It's all started with Ken. Let's talk about theology. So
Yeah. No, I had recapped for them, I think, while you were away, Mark. Or you may have still been there. I was recapping what I was.
You were on really loud, so I heard some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah. Some of the stuff I was talking about pertaining to dimensionality.